well, the Mayan people too, they all talk about the star beings. And isn't it interesting that they would be so connected? I believe it's because they've always honored the earth.
Revolution Radio proudly presents, live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the Just Bernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez. Join Bernard as he shares topics that reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience, including world liberty, the esoteric, suppressed technologies, spiritual ascension, and human consciousness. Humanity has awakened, and our time has come to realize our full potential. And now, live from the Star City, your host, Bernard Alvarez.
And welcome to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio. Hi, everybody. We are live here on Revolution Radio and also simulcasting on Facebook Live if you are on my Facebook page. Anyway, today we are going to be speaking with author Betsey Lewis about her new book called The Mystic Revelations of Seven. We're going to be covering numerology as well as other very interesting topics. She was a keynote speaker at the 2013 UFO conference near Las Vegas and has been a featured guest on radio programs such as Coast to Coast with George Norrie, Ground Zero, K-Talks, The Fringe, Fade to Black, and other popular radio shows. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest today back to the show, Betsey Lewis. Welcome, Betsey. It's so good to have you again.
Oh, thank you, Bernard. Great to be back on your show.
It's great to see you. Thank you for joining us. You know, it's very interesting. I can tell that Mercury retrograde is over because I've had technical difficulties like crazy, and today has been smooth sailing, and I think when we first started doing the video simulcasting, you were our first guest back in September or something like that.
Right.
And we had the outdated software anyway. So I'm really happy to see you and to see you so clearly. Welcome back to the show. How are you today, Betsey?
You. Well, great. I'm doing good. I just wish this weather would clear up. We've had such strange weather. We've had this cold and rain, and we've had extreme flooding here in Idaho, so we're ready for summer.
My goodness. So still rain. We had some flooding here as well. My gosh.
Really? Wow.
But I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, me too. Wow, that's horrible. It's been crazy weather everywhere.
It certainly has. It certainly has.
Yeah.
Very interesting because I know that you cover a lot of earth changes and whatnot. And just the other day, we had a small earthquake just west of, I want to say west of Radford, Virginia, around there somewhere.
Yes.
And I'm like, I remember the first time of my first year here, we had an earthquake and I felt it. And I thought it was a truck accident or something.
No.
I was in the supermarket and everything started moving on the shelves. I thought I'd never been in an earthquake before. So it seems to be a little more active recently. I think it affected D.C. back then and everything.
Sure. And we're going to see a lot more of that. Really weird earthquakes in places that aren't known to have earthquakes. And we've got volcanoes that are getting ready to erupt. There's one in Italy. It's, I think it's called, I can't think of what the name is, Campri Fuego or something like that, and it's ready to blow.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, there's just a lot of strange things. And I said there's going to be some very big earthquakes, and I think there's going to be one in Italy somewhere that's going to hit a major city sometime this year, and also the explosion of a very big volcano, super volcano.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone stays safe over there.
Yeah,
by all
stay
means.
safe.
So, Betsey, you write many books. You have many books published, and this book you chose to focus on numerology, numbers, and especially the number 7. Can you tell us a little bit about just an overview of numerology for our listeners that may not know the art and science of what numerology is? What can it show us?
Sure. Well, I was going to say that I wrote a book before this, and it's kind of a series. It's turned out to be a series. I wrote Mystic Revelations of 13, and now it's Mystic Revelations of 7. So it's really amazing about numerology because Greek philosopher, which you mentioned, Pythagoras, he was a mathematician, lived before Christ, and he he called it number, not numbers, but he said that they had power and souls and vibration. And I believe that everything is vibrating. And we know that because we have molecules, we are made of atoms. So everything is vibrating in the universe. And he knew that. Somehow he knew all that. He was so ahead of his time. It was just amazing. And he realized that with numbers, it also equaled vibration. And everything, like, numbers do have vibration. And I've seen that so many times in people's names, events that happen. There's just this incredible thing that's going on with numbers and vibration. So, yeah, there's an incredible correlation between it.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. And specifically, as a numerologist, what did you discover about the power of the number 7? It's a sacred number. It appears in the Bible 735 times, and we always, it seems to be a lot of people's lucky number. So what makes it so important? What is it about the number 7?
Well, it's really a sacred number, and it's related to everything in the universe. We know that the universe was supposedly created in 7 days. There's 7 days in a week. There are 7 continents. There are 7 colors in the rainbow, right? And it just goes on from there. It's just amazing how many 7s there are. 7 is just an incredible lucky number. Of course, all numbers have their yin and yang qualities to them. There's the negative and the positive to everything. But I would say 7 is more positive than most numbers. And I've just seen that at work in everything. Number 8, I was going to say number 8 is kind of a number too that I've watched that's more negative. That people that are born on the 8th of the month, or their name equals 8th, has some kind of karmic relationship that they have a lot of lessons to learn, and they seem to go through a lot of things. If you change your name and it equals an 8, I'll tell you, your future and your fortune is going to change very quickly.
Very interesting. Elvis Presley was born on the 8th, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think it was January 8th. I thought of that.
Interesting. Yeah. And like I said, it's a dual number. It can be both good and bad. So, and like, even in the Bible, we were talking about 735 times in the Bible. And part of that is in Revelations, the 7 seals, of course, that are described. There was supposed to be 7 doors to heaven. And of course, like I said, 7 days of the week. And there's supposed to be 7 virtues: faith, hope, charity, fortitude, justice, prudence, and temperance. So there's a lot of 7s, and even mentioned in ancient books like the Hindu, their religion, they have 7 devas. There's 7 deadly sins. And of course, now, like the negative, they say if you break a mirror, right, you have 7 days or 7 years bad luck, right? So there's the negative.
We definitely have a fascination with the number 7. It's very interesting because I don't know about anybody else, but I know what you mean about the vibration, and I can't help but notice that I've always liked even numbers for some reason. I prefer 2, 4, 6, 8, and 7 would be the only odd number that I was ever. Well, 7 and 11 are like the only odd numbers that I'm actually drawn to, and maybe 3 as I got involved with paganism. The maiden, the mother, the crone. I grew an affinity for 3, but I've always been attracted to even numbers. Very interesting. Now,
Yeah.
you were
Wow.
you were talking about the Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras. He was the first to
Right.
realize that numbers have powers, souls, and a vibration like everything in the universe. Can you tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about Pythagoras and how does his life parallel the life of Jesus or the story of the life of Jesus?
Oh, that's a great question. What's interesting is people believed he was a god because his father was Apollo and his mother was a goddess. So both were born in Syria. Both births were prophesized, and both men were born when their parents were journeying away from home. Both taught sacred knowledge, and they learned a lot of the things when they were in lands far away. Now, there's different stories about Jesus being away from home and actually going to India, and there's no proof of that. But they say he learned a lot of the sacred knowledge in India. So there's that.
Hmm.
So yeah, they were supposed to both be incredible. Jesus was born of God. He was the son of God. So there you have those, parallels. Interesting, isn't it?
Very, very. It
Yeah,
seems to.
yeah.
I can't help but notice how a lot of the ancient stories seem to parallel each other. And this is just another example of that. It's wonderful.
Right, right. Yeah.
And
And
considering we learn about Pythagoras, what, in elementary school, and we learned what is it, the Pythagorean formula or whatever?
right, right, exactly. Yeah. And it's interesting that both of them supposedly died. They were assassinated.
Oh
And
my.
Pythagoras died. He died supposedly when he was 100 years old, and he was doing very well. He was like over 6 feet tall, and in great health, supposedly. And he had several wives during his lifetime, but he was assassinated by jealous enemies around the year 497 BC.
Oh my
So
goodness.
there's that parallel. Isn't that interesting? Two different men and two different stories that are so, close. But he
Yeah.
was so far ahead of his time with uncovering frequency and sound and how he developed that relationship between sounds and numbers. It's
So
really interesting.
so tell us a little bit about that. What was he experimenting with that
Well,
helped him uncover frequency and the vibration and sound?
I guess he was traveling one day, and the story goes that he passed a forge and he noticed that there were four different sized anvils there that produced different notes when struck with a hammer. Now, I don't know why he was going along and striking everything with a hammer, but he found that if he used different weights in proportion of 6, 8, 9, and 12, that produced different notes. So that's really kind of interesting that everything has different octaves. And he envisioned the universe as a harmonious whole and believed that everything in it emitted a sound or vibration. He believed that the planets had their vibration and sound, and the universe. So everything is related. Everything is connected through vibration. And I've always believed that that's something that we have to all relearn again, that we are part of everything in the universe. And we've lost that connection somehow through, the last several hundred years, I think, because our ancestors practiced that. They understood that everything is connected and everything has a consciousness. I'm talking about rocks and plants and
Hmm.
trees. They understood that relationship and they honored everything. Mother Earth was very sacred to them. And what we do now is destroy Mother Earth. We've forgotten that everything is so sacred and connected, and we're
Hmm.
connected to it. And if we destroy everything, we're destroying ourselves.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, and that does seem to be the reality today, where
right.
it's all about quote unquote progress. And it is very
Mhm.
interesting how, even up to, well, like you said, 150 years ago, everyone was very connected to the earth and so much more aware of the different cycles and
Right.
understood the different symbols and actions, whether it be that fall was coming or if the birds were taking off, they knew winter was coming, these kind of things. And we forget about that. And So coming back to Pythagoras, because I'm learning a lot about him today. I never really paid attention to him, so thank you. I just remember the Pythagorean theory, and I hated math, so I didn't want to pay attention to that. But
I can relate to that.
Yeah. You write that he was a visionary. Why do you feel he was a visionary, and how come he was so far ahead of his time? I didn't realize it was even before Christ. So my goodness, what a progressive thinker.
Well, of course, his understanding of frequency and resonance, but also he had the Pythagorean school where he taught secrecy and loyalty. His people were just amazing that they supposedly, Pythagoras remembered past lives, past incarnations. They all wore white clothing, and they required to observe sexual purity. His students, that didn't mean that they couldn't be married, but they could. His students were trained in geometry, music, and astronomy. And they also had this essential belief in God, man, and nature. And he taught everything in moderation is the best way to do anything, And he also taught his students to abstain from eating meat. I mean, they were mostly vegetarians. They did eat a little meat. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
That is interesting.
He's so far ahead of his time, yeah. And they didn't call him Pythagoras at the time. They addressed him as the master or that man because his letters arranged held a certain sacred significance. And his students were initiated by means of secret formulas concealed in letters of his name. So that's, he used names, and he knew names were really important. So any of you who are expecting children, make sure that your children are named properly and watch out that they don't equal 8.
That's some good advice. Very good advice. Well, that opens up so many other questions for me, but we're going to be coming up on a commercial in about 2 minutes. Actually, maybe I do have time. I can slip it in. What do you think, or do you feel in your experience, would be a good reference to learn and understand the meaning of numbers? I know that depending on the author or the teacher, they have different translations. Is there one particular reference that comes to mind?
Well, I have a couple of books that were given to me by a friend who's a great numerologist, and they're quite old books, but they're great. And anybody who wants to figure out what their name number is, and don't go by what your name is at birth, go by what you use now. If you changed your name, use that name. But just start going by, just put down on a piece of paper, just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 9, and then just do the alphabet underneath it, in sequence. And that's how you figure out your numbers.
Your name
for
number.
Each letter.
Yes.
Right.
I remember that in my quote unquote esoteric training when I was picking my spiritual name, and I had to.
Very good.
I think I wanted mine to be a 7. I think it ended up being a 3 though, but it was
you
still
are
close.
A 3. I was going to talk to you about.
Okay. Very good. Well, we have about actually here's the commercial break. We're going to talk more about that and the mystic revelations and more with Betsey Lewis in just a moment. We'll be right back.
And now, back to your host, Bernard Alvarez.
Before we went on the break, Betsey Lewis was revealing my number. So, Betsey, what number? First of all, what formula did you use? Did you use my first name, my first, middle, last, or just Bernard?
Bernard.
Okay.
Bernard Alvarez. No. Yeah.
And
Bernard Alvarez, and that's number 3.
Oh, it does come out to 3.
It does, yeah. And that's a very good number to have. And the positive traits are growth, optimism, abundance, luck, literary ability, success, articulation, gift of words, and speech and writing, and a carefree nature. So I think that sounds like you.
It certainly does. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And
I took another one. J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter series, she is, it comes to 11, and so you break that down, you total that number, and it becomes 2. It's reduced to 2. So the positive traits of a number 2 are visionary, intuition, wisdom, inspiration. So she has all that. She really is a visionary in what she did. And I would say she's very intuitive writing about Harry Potter. So that's a good one for her.
Yes, absolutely.
And I took Hitler, someone just totally opposite. And that's kind of interesting. I didn't do Adolf, I did just Hitler. And in the negative, even though that's a great number to have, it is, it's actually very, let's see, I think I wrote that down somewhere here. Let me look at that real quick.
Yeah, I'd
in
be
the
curious.
negative, yeah, it's impulsive action, takes no blame, possessiveness, demanding approval and appreciation, moods and depression, failure to use talent for good of the world. Isn't that interesting? Wrong habits, unforgiving. So yeah, he took that number. He could have. They said he could have been a great artist. He was an artist. He could have been very famous for art, and instead of taking such a bad negative road that he took. So that's kind of interesting. And John Kennedy was another one I took. He's a number 5. And wait until you hear what this is. Needs excitement, sexual attraction, change, independence, drives others, enjoys applause, impulsive. So, wow.
That kind of relates.
It does relate a lot. But like I said, number 8, that's one number you want to avoid. If you do have the number 8, you were born on the 8th day, you do have some karmic things. And it's kind of comes back. It's kind of like the karmic boomerang in the universe. What you sow is what you reap. And it comes right back to you instantly. It's instant karma for you. So you've got to watch out what you do.
Very interesting.
You're born on the 8th. Or have an 8th name. And I was reading for someone, interestingly, not too long ago, who used the name Mike. And his name and last name came out to a number 8. And he's telling me he has all these horrible things happen to him. He was born under a dark cloud. Nothing he does is right. Nobody likes him, da-da-da. And I said, change your name to Michael. That's going to change your luck in your life. And he told me he did that, and things are changing for him. So, you know, there's something to it.
There is. And you know, like you said earlier, everything does have a vibration. So if we're associating specific qualities with something, we're going to self-impose it on ourselves by all means. So
yeah, right.
Very interesting. So let's go. In the book, you covered a lot of different topics, and one of them, I believe, was the Malaysian flight. Was that in the book also?
Yeah, that was.
Flight 370, one of the greatest mysteries. The flight vanished on March 7th, 2014, with 239 passengers. Yeah. What is your theory, and why do you think the number 7 is connected to this?
Well, I think there was something really, you know, anomalous about it. I think there was some kind of strange event that happened, and I think it actually vanished. I really do. I know that supposedly they found some kind of wreckage a year after it happened, but they really didn't say that it pointed exactly to that flight. And what's really strange about that flight is, like you said, March 7th, in some timelines it was actually March 8th, but the flight was 370. There's the 370. That happens to be my birthday, March 7th, 37, and which is kind of weird. And it was a Boeing 777. There's all the sevens there. And yeah, let's see, there was some other things in there that the sevens. But anyway, yeah, 777, yeah, Boeing. And let's see what else. It disappeared. This is really weird. It's 1719 UTC, Universal Time, which is, there's another 7, right? Yeah. And the thing is that all black box recorders transmit locator signals for at least 30 days. So, if it went into the ocean somewhere, it should have been, emitting something. And another thing is that many parts of the plane are buoyant. And when it crashed, it, would have broken up. And none of these things came out. They knew exactly when it disappeared and where it was when it disappeared. So why wasn't anything else found? That's really
I
can't
help but wonder if there was like a Bermuda Triangle effect over there. And I know there are other areas around the Earth that have that portal crazy energy over there.
Yes. But a vortex of some kind, you know?
Yeah.
And they said even if a missile destroyed Flight 370, the missile would have left a radar signal, and also there would have been the debris again. So there was none of that. And even if it was hijacked, they would have, found it somewhere. They would have seen where it was going.
Yeah.
So why did everything vanish?
That's a very, very good question. A very good question. I wonder if all the sevens created a magical formula or something.
Well, there's stories of giant UFOs that have actually abducted jets and things.
Oh, interesting.
They've seen them vanish when they're around. So who knows? Maybe we're going to come back like Close Encounters. Remember in the movie where all these planes that had disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle suddenly appeared, and at the end, all these people come off the ship that were a part of that, hadn't aged a bit.
And there was that show back maybe 2013, the Event. It was the same thing. A plane disappeared and ended up somewhere else.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And anything is possible. And God knows we don't get to hear the whole story many, many times. A very interesting topic, and this seems to be one that has been going around for a while, and I see the discussion, and I even get messages about Planet X all the time. And you included this in your book, and
I did.
Even author, conspiracy theorist David Mead writes about Planet X hitting Earth this October. Was that this year, this October?
Yes, that's what he's saying. So, it's ridiculous. It's not going to hit us.
Yes, thank you for
that.
Don't
worry, everybody. Don't worry.
Well, let's talk about Planet X for a second.
Sure.
What is your understanding of what Planet X is? Is it a piece of the Earth that went off somewhere? Or is that the planet that hit the asteroid belt or created the asteroid belt? What is the significance of Planet X to you and your understanding of it?
Well, Planet X... let me go back a little bit because it's actually a failed star brown dwarf. And every solar system, supposedly, that they've ever found has binary stars. We have our sun, but why don't we have one? So it makes sense that Planet X would be the sun's twin. And this twin travels through our solar system, they say, every 3,700 years. And depending on its distance, it won't hit us because it has a certain pattern and, a certain path that it travels. The distance and its magnetic pull will do more to the Earth. So supposedly, when the Great Flood happened in the Bible, that was one of the things that was caused by Planet X when it came through at that time. And many other catastrophes with the Earth, I believe, were related to that. And it's kind of interesting that my mom did a thesis on it in 1948.
Oh, wow.
In college about not Planet X, but the Earth shifting. And she said that it happened many times and that she believed it was going to happen again, that the poles were going to shift. And look what's happening to the Earth right now. And I think some of it's caused, like the extreme weather is caused by geoengineering and chemtrails. But we also have these mysterious booms that have been heard worldwide. We're seeing more earthquakes happening and volcanic activity, fireballs coming in. You've probably heard about all these different fireballs and meteors that are seen all the time. And I think Planet X, when it's coming through our solar system, is bringing all that debris out there.
And probably messing with our magnetic field, etc., etc. I know recently, what was it, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they had mentioned how many of the airports around the world had to realign their North Pole because it had moved over like 18 miles or something like that.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
And didn't the sun's poles flip a couple years ago also, and then flip back or something?
Exactly. And what's really strange is our sun has been behaving very strangely. There hasn't been any solar spots on there for several days now. It just goes blank. It's like nothing there. And I think Planet X has some effect on the sun. Since it's twin, it probably is doing something to the stability of the sun. You know, that's only my theory about it, but yeah, I think there's something going on between the two of them. Well, and because I was going to say Planet X, its magnetic pull is so great, and especially on our Earth, our tiny little Earth, that we're feeling the effects of it big time.
I believe it. I believe it. And there's so many ideas about Planet X. You know, is it? I've heard it called Nibiru, I think is one of the names that people have used. We've heard that's where the Anunnaki live, and they're going to come by and take over the Earth again, or something. I mean, positive thing, negative things. I've heard it all, but I guess we won't know until it gets a little bit closer.
Right, you know? Exactly. Well, they say all these elite people are building bunkers. What are they building bunkers for? I don't know, a nuclear event, or is it because of Planet X? They've been doing that for some time.
That's very interesting. And on that note, Stephen Hawking just put out a report saying that we will need to find another planet to live within 100 years.
Isn't that interesting?
Stephen Hawking said that. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
anyway, as we're talking about the stars, as we're talking about other life forms and whatnot, Native Americans are linked to what they call star beings or star people, and this is a very interesting topic to me. They've been given, you know, prophetic messages over the years. We've actually heard positive things about, you know, the Rainbow Tribe coming to save the Earth, hopefully around this time of our history. Why do you believe the star beings contact the Native Americans, specifically the Hopi and several other tribes, and what was their message? And I've heard so many ideas on this. What are your thoughts?
Right. Well, the Mayan people too, they all talk about the star beings. And isn't it interesting that they would be so connected? I believe it's because they've always honored the Earth and they've been close to the Earth. I think because they are just, you know, they're so different from us because we're so involved in our material world, and they contact them because they understand, you know, who they are and what they are and why they're here. I mean, most of us, you know, we've watched so many movies that probably our military would go out there and try and shoot them or kill them, right? But not Native Americans, because they understand who they are, these beings, and what they're here for. And I think they're changing a lot of the DNA. There's many, many people out there, and I've interviewed some of them that have had UFO alien experiences, and they have the Rh negative blood, and it's supposed to be alien DNA. So I think they're changing a lot of our DNA, and the new children that are coming in are so incredibly talented. They're psychic, they remember past lives, they are telepathic. They're just amazing children that are coming in. So I think there's a new root race that is coming into being, and you know, that's part of it.
Yes, I feel something to that effect coming as well. You know, we talk about, you know, the awakening of the planet. We talk about moving into 5D reality and a higher vibration. And I can't help but feel that, these indigo, rainbow, crystal children or
Yes.
whatnot is our version of the evolved human race. I had someone asked me. I did a session with somebody recently, and they didn't believe in reincarnation. They said the number one reason why they don't believe in reincarnation is because we can't remember our past lives. But now
Not
we're
true.
seeing. I was going to say there is a way to draw out those memories, but
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
noticing now, like you said, many of these new children are remembering everything, and they're remembering. I heard a great story. What was it? A couple days ago about a child saying. A mother asking, I'm so sorry you didn't remember Grandpa, or something to that effect. They're like, well, I was your grandpa. I remember when I was your grandfather. I was
Right.
like,
Right.
wow, that's very, very interesting. So I
Yeah.
think maybe, like you said, with all these cosmic changes, that
Mhm.
memory is coming into a part of our consciousness again.
Yeah.
But
These are amazing children, and many people have written about him. Dwayne Dwyer, before he passed away, wrote a book about these incredible children that remember, like you said, they tell their parents, I remember you when, you were in another life with me, or, they describe different things, or I saw you when I was on a cloud, and I chose you as my parents. How incredible is that?
it's amazing. It really
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a shame that mainstream reality and our egos don't allow us to believe these wonderful truths.
Hmm.
The universe is fascinating and infinite possibility, and we have to begin to embrace that if we're going to evolve, hopefully. And speaking
Yeah.
of, if we evolve and embracing a new reality and embracing a better way of living on the earth. You've made a lot of accurate predictions about Earth changes.
Mhm.
You've had prophetic dreams. I've had them too. I don't like them. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Unless you're positive.
yeah, I don't mind the positive ones, but I've had some real doozies, and actually some of them have not come true, so I'm really happy about that. But you've been pretty accurate, and tell us a little bit about what you see coming and what can we do to, well, either alter the timeline or, where are we at and what can we do, I guess is what I'm asking you.
Well, that's a good question because I believe we can alter timelines. And time is malleable. It's the past, present, and future, I believe, are all happening at once. But
Hmm.
we're in the present right now. And what we're doing right now is creating the future. So we can actually create a new future. We can change the timelines where we're headed. We're headed toward a certain place right now in the future, and it looks very dire right now with what we're doing to the planet, what's going on with the nut in North Korea
Mm.
who wants to destroy us
Hmm.
with his nuclear missiles. We've never been there. And what I believe, and I've written about it just recently in my newsletter, that I believe we are the Atlanteans that have come back now.
Hmm.
And there, as Edgar Casey talked about it, there were the good guys and the bad guys. And the good guys were trying to bring in the light and preserve the earth and honor the earth. And the bad guys were into materialism. They were into technology and destroying their enemies with their technology. And it's just everything that we see now is just a repeat of Atlantis. And so it's our duty to stop these bad guys and awaken to what's actually happening. If we are the Atlanteans, we can certainly change things with our thoughts, our consciousness. We are that powerful, I believe.
Oh, most certainly. I can't help but remember when I was studying Atlantis. God, what was the name of that? There was a wonderful series that talked about it, and how, just like you said, it was the technology that got away from them. But their
Right.
technology supposedly was much greater than ours, and it's
Right.
very interesting the parallels that we are living today
Yes.
with Atlantis. For example, we are now using crystals to store energy. I mean,
Yeah.
how and information. We're putting data into little.
Right.
Our
Right.
computers have crystals in them. It's just fascinating and amazing what we
Yeah.
can do, and we are very parallel to them. And unfortunately,
Hmm.
I hope that we've learned the lesson this time. Somebody had wrote something to me recently about scalar holograms and whatnot. They're like, oh, that's how the government is torturing people. This is a horrible technology. I'm like, but it can also be used to heal.
Right.
So it's not. It's like technology is not evil. When people talk to me about, you know, magic or witchcraft or anything, I'm like, magic is not evil. It's how we use it. It's a technology.
Right.
So hopefully we'll learn it.
We live in a duality world, you know, where, you know, light and dark and hot and cold, you know, everything is, it has its positive and its negative.
Yes.
And we can learn from both, even the negative. So, yeah, it's,
most
right.
certainly, most certainly. Betsey, I can't believe we have about a minute left. I can't believe how quickly this went by. It always does. Thank you very much. Let's tell everybody a little bit about where they can find more information, maybe find your blog, and, of course, find the new book.
Oh, great. That's my website. It's betseylewis.com. Betsey spelled a little bit different. It's got an extra E in it. It's Betsey. And Lewis is LEWIS.com. And I have an Earth News 1 blog that you can read. I predict earthquakes. I have a lot of strange things on there, UFOs, anything that I think is out of the ordinary, or anything that I think we need to know, I put it on there each day. And my book is on Amazon. It's in Kindle and also soft cover. And I've got a bunch of books out there now, about 8 books that are available. So I cover a lot of different things because I've researched a lot of different things, and I've always been interested in so many things. So it's fun. I really enjoy it.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Well, I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm glad you're feeling better. You look wonderful, and
thank you.
And I can't wait to see what's next with Betsey Lewis. Do you have anything on the back burner?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things that I'm working on. I'm not too sure which one I'm going to pick. I'm kind of spin the bottle to see which one comes up next.
Very good.
Thanks, Bernard.
Thank you so much, Betsey, and thank you everyone for watching and listening to the Just Bernard Show here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I will see you next week. I love you. Bye-bye.